Welcome to the first look at Heroic Trilliax in the Nighthold raid instance. Trilliax is a 3-phase fight. He cycles through these phases as the fight progresses. Trilliax will begin the fight in a cleaner phase. After a little over a minute, he'll transition into the Maniac Phase, which also lasts about a minute. Trilliax's third phase, the Caretaker Phase, is significantly shorter than the others, but much more hectic. You should position the boss on the outer edge of the room to maximize the ranged and healer space in the middle of the room. The melee should follow either behind or on the inside of the boss, so they're always able to avoid arcane seepage. Regardless of phase, the boss has two consistent mechanics: Arcane Spear and Arcane Seepage. Arcane Spear is a standard tank swap mechanic. It deals heavy arcane damage between the tanks, who should be stacked. Now, it also places a debuff on Trilliax's target, which increases all damage taken by 10% for 30 seconds. And Arcane Sweep is the second constant mechanic. No matter what phase Trilliax is in, doing damage will cause him to leave puddles at the feet of random players that deal damage every second while standing in them. The Cleaner Phase. This phase has 3 mechanics, but will only be covering Toxic Slice for the time being. This phase begins as soon as you pull the boss. Trilliax will begin to spawn Toxic Slices at random locations which deal nature damage on their spawn. Now, the raid should actively attempt to run out and eat the slices in this phase. Doing so will cause the player to gain 2 debuffs. The first debuff will deal nature damage every second for 20 seconds. Now, the second debuff is a minute long and prevents the player from eating it again for its duration. As mentioned, this phase has 2 other mechanics, but they'll only become active after you've done the other 2, the Maniac Phase and the Caretaker Phase, which we'll be touching on later in this guide. The Maniac Phase, or Phase 2. In this phase, the boss will attack faster, he'll increase tank damage, as well as the speed in which the boss stacks Arcane Spear. Now, Trilliax gains 3 new mechanics in this phase. The first is Mana Rupture. The boss will target random players and cast an AoE which inflicts damage every second. The second mechanic he gains is Searing Bonds. It's a raid-wide mechanic, and it binds random members of the raid together, dealing arcane damage every third of a second while you're not stacked with your chained partner. The last mechanic of the phase has Trilliax leaping to the middle of the room to begin to cast Annihilation. It's a one-shot mechanic similar to Darumu's Eye Beam in the Throne of Thunder. If you come into contact with the Annihilation Beam, you're dead. Searing Bonds still exist during Annihilation, so be sure to remain stacked with your partner if they are applied to you. The third phase is the Caretaker Phase. It's the most important one, and the boss will stand in the middle of the room for its duration. He'll summon adds and spawn a new cake for players to eat. It resembles a feast. Trilliax will cast and throw a succulent feast at a random player. It will give anyone who eats it a 3 million absorb shield, but will also slow the player's movement. Like the cake, it will give you a debuff, preventing you from eating it for 1 minute. The ads spawned by Trilliax in this phase are called Scrubbers. They'll run to the nearest slice of cake or pool of arcane seepage and start to clean it. This will cause the Scrubbers to gain energy. Now, once the Scrubbers have reached max energy, they'll begin to channel Cleansing Destruction. Cleansing Destruction is a 1.5 second channel that, if completed, causes massive raid-wide damage. This damage can be prevented by clicking on the Scrubber while it's channeling, like the crawler mines from Iron Juggernaut in Siege of Orgrimmar. It's ideal for tanks or players which have consumed a succulent feast to stomp a Scrubber, but anyone can do it in a pinch. After the Caretaker Phase ends, the boss will cycle back into the Cleaner Phase and gain 2 mechanics which we mentioned earlier. The first, Sterilize, is a debuff placed on random raid members, and it will cause them to pulse with arcane energy and deal arcane damage to nearby allies within 12 yards for 40 seconds. It's also of note that this effect will also disrupt nearby Scrubbers. And the second, Cleansing Rage, will have Trilliax detonating any remaining cake and dealing massive damage raid-wide per each cake destroyed. We hope you've enjoyed this guide brought to you by Icy Veins, and as always, we wish you the best of luck in your raiding endeavors. If you like this video, feel free to check out our other guides and remember to subscribe in order to stay updated on all of our newest releases. And you can find all relevant information in the description below.